Hello, and welcome to the MOR Cast, the intersectionality of motherhood and entrepreneurship. I am your host, Shon-tay. This episode of the MOR Cast is entitled Head On. A head-on collision occurs when the front ends of two vehicles strike or collide while moving in opposite directions. Today, I want to talk about head-on. Let's get into it. Recently, I was driving on a narrow residential street and two cars came through the light on the opposite side of the street. There was no clearing for me to veer off, and I was already midway when they came through the light. Because the street is narrow, it would be necessary for one of us to yield while the other passed. As I got closer, the first car pulled to the right at the first available open space to allow me to safely pass. However, the second car pulled around the first car and proceeded in my direction. As the second car approached, I began to ask myself, is this driver going to persist considering I have nowhere to veer off? Now bear in mind, the second car had to go around the first car to get in this position in the first place. Additionally, I was driving an older SUV, which is sizable, and made it twice as difficult for us to safely pass this very narrow street without collision. As car number 2 got closer, I couldn't really believe what I was seeing because this driver had persisted. Not only that, at some point she seemed to accelerate. Just before she passed me, about 2 cars out, a space opened on my side and I quickly veered right. Had I not had that option for the open space and veered right, we would have definitely ended in a head-on collision. As the driver passed, I noticed that she almost was indignant, as if she was right at what she had done. I queried who would do something like that, considering it would have brought harm to both of us. And this would have been a head-on collision. We all know when an accident occurs, it gets messy. There would have been an impact, damages, possible hospital visits, insurance increases, etc. Now, the good thing is that this is a residential street. And in this particular area, the blocks are short and peppered with stop signs. So I guess she couldn't have accelerated any more than she had already. But I was just so shocked that she had no regard for her property nor mine. Many of my listeners are entrepreneurs, and we're often faced with situations that seem to be coming head on with others who are unyielding. It can feel much like this situation, where if you are not careful, it can lead to a head-on collision with damages. I just want to encourage you today to try your best not to have head-on collisions with customers, clients, or vendors because they are your bread and butter. Give yourself to veering to the right or diffusing situations while they are headed toward you. If not, there will be damages, loss of relationships, loss of clients or customers. You don't want that. But what do you do when you're faced with a head-on collision in business? Do you keep going or do you veer right? I think it really depends on what the situation is and who's engaged in the situation. Some situations require us to stand our ground or keep driving, like I did. And sometimes it requires us to veer to the right. But in those moments, you have to weigh the cost. If your name or your business reputation are going to be severely damaged, look for a place to veer off because nothing is worth your good name or reputation. Have you had any head-on collisions in your pursuit of entrepreneurship? If so, I want to hear about it. Drop me a line on Twitter or here at the MOR Cast. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the MOR Cast entitled Head On. Remember, try your best to diffuse situations because some head-on collisions or head-to-head occurrences leave everyone with regrets and can be avoided. It just requires someone to veer off. So cover yourself, your reputation, and your business. Veer off. If you enjoyed this episode of the MOR Cast, share it with someone else. Leave me a comment here or meet me on Twitter at the MOR Cast. Until next time. Need some encouragement? Tune in to Test and Testimonies Friday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live on Instagram. Test and Testimonies will have you on the edge of your seat as you witness women sharing their trials and their triumphs. Test and Testimonies Friday nights on Instagram at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Talk Like God. You won't be disappointed, but you will definitely be encouraged.